It is 1979, and I am bobbing my head, hunched over an old school flat-top cassette recorder temporarily stolen from the AV room down the hall. My teen pubescent angst is being resolved as I am focused intensively on understanding how to follow along with the words. The words are garbled because the cassette has been through hell. It is a dub-over, patched together with scotch tape, shoved into the pocket with no case, jostled among keys, now and laters, and double-mick on wrappers. This is the story of a young girl's journey to rock the mic, save the hood, and heal the planet. This is my journey from starving artist to sustainable revolutionary. This is the story of how I healed my relationship with capitalism to move the crowd and empower a new generation of entrepreneurs. I am the daughter of Ruth and Fred, born as a change of life baby into the intersection of civil rights and hip hop. My parents, young and enthusiastically in love, survived over 2 decades of Jim Crow segregation. As activists, they endured with a commitment to family, community, and education. And they instilled in us at a very young age that if we ever received any kind of advantage, we had a responsibility to share it. Now, we were taught to share not out of some distorted sense of charity, because we understood that those who were less fortunate were no different than us. And it was only by the grace of God that the shoe was not on the other foot. My parents fought hard for dignity and respect. But even with their example, by my mid-teens, I had become frustrated and impatient with the civil rights movement. At the age of 14, my raging hormones and the swirl of my raging injustice left me sitting in a corner with nobody to talk to. And for a young adolescent young girl, y'all know that that is a dangerous combination. But this is where hip-hop found me. I was drawn into the playground and lunchroom ciphers where my more rambunctious peers would abandon classrooms for their own schools of thought. I became mesmerized with deciphering this new language. For hours I'd be holed up in my room, my rage meeting the page as I created my own rhymes. But in the ciphers in school, it was the boys who took center stage, and we just cheered them on. Until one day I was hunched over another cassette, and I heard the voice of Shah Rock from the legendary group Funky 4 plus One More. She was fly, feminine, yet commanding, with clean lyrics and impeccable flow. And she invited me to come off of the sidelines from being a spectator into the culture and rather to join the mic. And I did. Every generation has the right and opportunity to make things better. And I knew that my generation would be no different. As the culture evolved, I became more involved in hip-hop. And I was fortunate enough to have my craft enable me to travel the world. Using the culture I loved, I strove to make a difference in the lives of others. I remember being in different parts of the world and feeling as a global hip-hop ambassador and creative change agent that crowd motivation was the way. I saw the examples of thousands of people chanting along with the mantra of an idea, seeing themselves in the collective practice of beats and rhymes and break moves and graffiti tagging, all committed to unifying in one force to push us all ahead. This was hip-hop at its best. But then came hip-hop at its worst. In the mid-1990s, the culture began to call me names that brought tears to my eyes, like bitch, hoe, chickenhead, skeezer. Capitalism's new profound discovery of this primary underground art form had flipped the script from peace, love, unity, and having fun to money, power, and respect by any means necessary. Part of the trade-off for having our creative expression go prime time was to embrace an identity that went along better with soda and popcorn. Outcasts became VIPs as culture and economy got in bed together. Every generation carries the right and opportunity to define itself, and my generation was no different. The money was real, and a number of engaging, bright, brilliant, entrepreneurial creatives jumped on board. The marketing frenzy began, and our culture, hyperbolized, performed beautifully. With one hitch, we forgot to tell the community that it wasn't real. Economic disparity met over-fantasized Hollywood on crack at the crossroads, and life began to imitate art in ways that we could have never imagined. Young 10-year-old boys aspiring to be gangsters and pimps went viral. Young 10-year-old hypersexualized girls angled to sit on their arms. And I, at 1995, was fired up. So I took the high road of becoming a hip-hop cultural purist. And I ignored capitalism, said it didn't matter, drawing the false dichotomies of business versus the culture. I espoused that we were the good guys, and in the end, we would win. But it all came to a head for me when I returned from an international trip, tired, broke, and had no clue about how I was going to pay the rent. And I was really not in a place where I was willing to scramble anymore to figure it out. Every generation has the right and the opportunity to heal itself, and my time had come. Over the next few days, I came to Jesus on several occasions. One, I recognized that I had developed a hip-hop purist persona and romanticized the culture to the extent that I actually believed that in its current state, it would take us to the promised land. But the truth was that we did not have the emotional, spiritual, nor financial capacity to pull it off. Number two, I had found myself consistently engaging under-resourced communities who had tremendous amounts of need. And I had to own all of the places where I said yes to my own exploitation, being notoriously overworked, underpaid, and only mildly appreciated, as that had become my norm. Number three, I had to own that for all my judgment of those commercial rappers, because after all, we were the righteous ones and we were going to win, I was no different. I had used hip-hop as well to get ahead. Only they had more to show for it in their bank accounts. I had rocked the delusion of starving artists for over 15 years, and I was done. I knew who I was, where I came from, who my people were, why I was here. And it was bigger than hip-hop. It was bigger than my adolescent rage. It was bigger than going head-to-head with multinational conglomerates. It was about being on the front lines of our humanity. That was my true calling. So what I ultimately decided was that if I was going to stay here and I was going to do this work, then I better figure it out. Slow down, get real, woman up, and figure out the money. Hence, I went and got a business education. But I didn't go to Wharton or Harvard or Stanford or Yale. I sat at the feet of some very smart people who had built multi-million-dollar ventures repeatedly from dust. And I learned all that I could in what they had to offer. And it was great because I could finally talk about money and my relationship with money and making money and having money and what it meant to have money actually be a part of my equation. But there was something missing. There was a problem because they weren't talking to me. They weren't talking to me as someone who wanted to have my values live at the center of what it was I was building. They weren't talking to me as a young woman of color who came from very different starting points. And they weren't talking to me as a creative, someone whose markets and offerings did not fit in the neatly prescribed boxes. So as much as it was phenomenal information, and I will forever be grateful, it was still business as usual. My real entrepreneurial journey did not begin until I reconciled my relationship with capitalism. What I learned when I got there was that capitalism is not only a system, it is a structure, it is a culture with corresponding attitudes, beliefs, lexicons, and behaviors that reinforce its existence. And within the culture of capitalism, there is a mythology that says that there are winners and losers, that there are smart people and dummies. There are those who have and deserve, and those who have not and deserve not. But the biggest lie of all of the culture of capitalism is that there just isn't enough. Not enough love, not enough money, not enough opportunity, not enough light, not enough room for all of us at the top. Now, I had done a really good job of rejecting that culture. But what I didn't do was put anything viable in its place. What I realized in my moment of reconciliation was that I had been victimized by my own lack of vision. And it had robbed me of a prosperous existence in the process. Every culture has the right and opportunity to create its own flavor of success. It just needs the right formula. So my healing of the culture of capitalism began with crafting and actually pursuing a new vision for wealth. And that began with understanding the law of pure potentiality, which says, I am creative. Now, if I accept the fact that I am creative, what it means is that I must take 1,000% responsibility for my experience. Now, I struggled with this one because everything that I had been taught conditioned me to believe that it was all about the external forces. Y'all know, freedom out there, love out there, success out there. Nope, it's not what the law says. The law says that it is in here. Love, money, success, freedom in here. This one perception shifted my ability to see what was possible for me. Because for the first time, I could actually ask myself, what do you want to create? What do you want to create? If it's in here and out there is just a reflection, what do you want to create? The first time I asked myself the question, dead silence. The second time, the same. The third time, the vision started to come in the form of a mantra. Stay true, get paid, do good. Stay true, get paid, do good. Stay true, get paid, do good. Learn how to do it, teach it to others. Now, the minute I spoke my vision, all my drama came up. Who are you? You broke. You ain't no expert. Who gonna listen to you? Blah, 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 blah. And I realized that I couldn't do it alone. I had to do this work in a sacred container, in a community of kindred souls who would hold me and keep me accountable and stand with me for my mental, spiritual, and emotional freedom. And what I learned as I evolved at every turn was that in order to embrace something new, I had to let something old go. I had to give up being irresponsible to embrace standing in my power. I had to give up being liked to embrace being respected. I had to give up being accommodating to embrace owning my value. I had to give up financial struggle in order to embrace financial profitability and prosperity, and so on. And it was only through this process that I was able to truly call myself an entrepreneur. See, I never saw this in a marketing business plan. I never saw this or heard this in an investor pitch. I never saw this outlined in graphs of financial projections. This lived in here, in me, and my willingness at every turn to bring it and confront myself and transform my consciousness of poverty. I am creative healed me. And this is where I am today with you in this awesome city, Newark, standing on the front lines of our humanity, empowering the next generation of conscious entrepreneurs who are transforming themselves and their society. And I want to invite you today, as you think about this renewed vision for your beloved city, where are you being called to heal? Where are you being invited to come home to yourself? And what is it at the end of the day that you ultimately want to create? Every generation has the right and opportunity to hold its highest vision for itself and for humanity. And Newark, New Jersey, you are no different. It is your right and your privilege to stand for the life and liberty of your great city. And it begins with you. I thank you so much for the opportunity to share my journey. My name is Rha Goddess, and I was born to live the cause.